heart attack? I asked, completely shocked. It was hard to believe that I would suffer such an ordeal, being that I'm relatively young. I suppose youth doesn't matter when you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day and never exercise. The pale man in expensive-looking dark suit next to me nodded. Yes, a fatal one. You'll be dead within a few minutes. I considered the fact that I was still alive, and knew he was offering me an out. Are you saying you can stop this? I questioned, staring into his pitch-black eyes. He smiled eerily, and adjusted the ornate skull ring on his finger. Of course, for a price. I sat back and considered what I was about to do. I knew making a deal with death could be catastrophic, but what choice did I have? I could already feel a strange ache working its way up to the left side of my body. What do you want? I asked in almost a whisper. Not much, he said, leaning in closer. Just 2 replacements. I nearly laughed out of arrogance. How stupid do you think I am? You're going to take 2 of my loved ones, right? He shook his head. Not at all. I'll take 2 complete strangers. You've never met these people or even heard of them. I mulled over this in my mind, trying to figure out the catch. It seemed too simple. Sure, I'd have to live with the fact that I caused 2 innocent people somewhere in the world to drop dead, but I could live with that. Fine, I said, reaching out to shake on the deal. He wrapped his cold ice hands around mine and shook it firmly. Good choice, he said before vanishing into thin air. It had been a while since he disappeared, and I was just starting to relax. As soon as I got comfortable, I felt the floor beneath me shake. Just by looking around, I could tell I wasn't the only one who noticed. Panic voices and loud gasps began to rise from the people in front of me. A series of strange movements followed the shaking, and I began to fear the worst. Excuse me, I said, flagging down a uniformed woman in the aisle. Can you check to see if everything is alright? She quickly nodded. As soon as I can. The pilot and co-pilot haven't been responding for some reason, but I'm sure everything is fine. It was dark all around me and smelled of death. I stumbled through the blackness, clumsy, lost, disoriented, reaching out in front of me for something, anything to support me in my fumbling through the void. The cold of the stone walls around me greeted my reaching hands, and I continued forward, feeling my way along them. My eyes adjusted to the dimness, and I saw the lumpy gray rock sheets enclosing me. And between them ahead, a black hole, leading into nothingness, beckoning me. From the hole, a figure emerged, a small silhouette. As it came closer, I saw it was that of an old woman in a dress. As she drew nearer, I could see that there was something wrong with her. Even in the blackness, I could see that her face was discolored and bloated. Red blood showed through the places where the skin was torn away, and her eyes were gone. There were only vacant black pits staring out at me. It was my mother. You left me, son, she said in her feeble voice. I smelled the cigarette smoke on her breath, just like I had when I was a child. You left me to die in that home. Why didn't you take care of me? Why didn't you tell me you loved me before I turned into this? Before it was too late? I'm sorry, I called out to her, but my words were broken somehow, muffled like I was underwater, like I was smothered beneath a thick blanket. I called it again and again, but I knew she could not hear me. Why, son? Why? Her voice grew more and more feeble. She began to fade into the blackness just as she'd emerged from it. Now I'm doomed to wander here forever, just as you are. No, no! I screamed, but my words were even more distorted than before. And then I felt myself falling, and the blackness closing in, heavy and thick and full of malice. And my mother was gone. I awoke covered in sweat, and rose from the bed and put on my black suit. I gathered the crumpled pages I'd written the night before from the bedside table, from the place next to the empty glass. The funeral was at 11. I couldn't be late. Mother would have disapproved. The pain ended quickly. I rose and tried to find my body, probably lying mangled underneath the metallic wreck. Dying in a road accident is definitely the worst way to go. So, had a nice life? Asked a voice behind me. I turned around to find a woman smiling. Since she could see me, I was pretty sure she was a soul like me. She giggled. You're taking it pretty well. I'm Cindy, by the way. I spoke evenly. What happens now? Hell? Heaven? She laughed louder. Before I could say something, I heard a commotion from far off. Cindy shouted, "Come on!" And she ran. She turned and yelled, "Have you been good?" What? Have you done any good while you lived? Totally confused, I spluttered, I donated blood once. As we reached the source of the noise, I was dumbstruck to find hundreds of people ripping each other apart in front of a hospital. I shouted, "What is happening here?" Cindy replied, "Someone is giving birth here. These souls are fighting to get inside the newborn shell." But the baby. Listen to me. There is no baby until a soul penetrates it. If no soul makes it inside, the shell is pronounced dead by doctors. She continued, "Your fighting strength depends on your karma, so the soul of a rapist or a pedophile, etc., stands no chance. They will never get a shell and will painfully wither away. Children are most dangerous, pure souls. Stay away from them during fights." But what about heaven and hell? This is hell, and more importantly, the life you left behind. That is heaven.